Screen. Okay. So, good afternoon, class, and welcome to your review class. No? So today we'll discuss deferred income tax. Okay, so we'll go to deferred income tax. No? So as an introduction, let's define muna ano ba yung mga concepts no within the income taxes. No? So first we have accounting income. So pag sinabi natin accounting income, basically this is what you have learned, no? And it's based on the IFRS or PFRS, no? In our case. Now, pag taxable income naman, this is based on the income tax law. So in our case, Philippine income tax law. We have two differences that we'll be able to note, no, when we calculate accounting income and taxable income. No? So there are the permanent differences and temporary differences. Ganito lang yan, class. So when you compute for the your accounting income, this is based on the accounting standards kasi. But of course, when you calculate naman your taxable income, ito yung natutunan nyo dun sa income taxation class nyo. This is based on the uh, Philippine income taxes law. No? So there will be or there might be differences between the two. Generally speaking, dapat wala. Parang ganun, no? But of course, due to the uh, specific provisions of the law, there might be differences and we have to classify them as permanent differences and temporary differences. So ano ngayon ang difference ng dalawa? Oops. So when we say permanent differences, these are items of income or expense that are recognized in accounting income but never in taxable income. So ano yung mga example nito? So we have non-taxable income and non-deductible expense. So one good example of non-taxable income would be your dividend received, no? Or your dividend income kasi dividend income was already subject to final tax. Now, for non-deductible expenses, one good example would be the fines. No? So, bawa, nagkaroon ka ng delays in paying your tax, so the authority will penalize you. So those fines and penalties are non-deductible expense. No? So pansinin na, permanent differences, ito recognized in the accounting income. So anong ibig sabihin no? Dividend income is recognized part of your accounting income as well as those fines. No? Saan mo kasi ibubuk yun, di ba? So ikakarga mo yun doon sa accounting income. So accounting income mo as a result will be lesser, no? So after deducting those fines and penalties. But again, when you calculate for your taxable income, di ba, i-reconcile natin yung dalawa. So these permanent differences will never be accounted for. No? So ibig sabihin, you have to adjust your accounting income to arrive to your taxable income. So later on, we'll introduce a template to guide us no in how to calculate this. Next, we have temporary differences. No? So difference between carrying amount of an asset or liability and their tax basis. Timing differences are income and expenses that are included in both accounting income and taxable income but in different periods. So parang ganito yan, example. No? So in accounting income, you have an equipment which you depreciate straight line for 10 years. So kaya ang pansin mo ang sinasabi dito, these are timing differences lang. So timing differences in such a way that these are recognized in both accounting income and taxable income. Nagkakaroon lang ng timing or delay, no? Kasi for example nga yung pinag-usapan natin depreciation sa accounting income it's 10 years. Baka pagdating sa taxable income ang allowed lang ni income tax law is 5 years, no? So there's just delay. So that's why we call it temporary differences, no? So it gives rise to deferred tax asset or deferred tax liability. So sabi natin, kailan nagkakaroon ng deferred tax asset? Later on, we'll discuss this further. But if the temporary difference resulted to a taxable, pansinin na, taxable temporary difference. O dahil taxable nga yan, so it's deferred tax liability. Pansinin mo naman ito, if it resulted to a deductible temporary difference, so that's deferred tax asset naman. So of course, pag sinabi natin sin deferred tax liability, we're just deferring the tax payment, no, at a later time. So meaning it will arise, it will give rise for a liability. So meaning we'll pay taxes later on. No? Sa deferred tax asset naman kasi is we pay the taxes now, so it's as if we prepay it, no? So we can have it deducted in the future. So para wala ring double taxation. Okay. So taxable temporary difference. So ito na. So kailan ba nagkakaroon ng taxable temporary difference or future taxable amount? So klasa in PFRS kasi we can use these two terms, taxable temporary difference or future taxable amount. But actually these are one and the same, no? So kailan daw nagkakaroon yan? Number one, if your accounting income is greater than your taxable income. Number two, carrying amount of the asset is greater than the tax base of the asset. Number three, carrying amount of liability is less than the tax base of liability. What's good about this topic class is I'm also, di ba nabanggit ko na sa inyo that I'm taking up CPA Australia at the moment. My exam will be on April 13, no? So this is one of the scope. In fact, tignan mo, pakishare ko yung notes na ginawa ko for this is one of the modules one of the modules in CPA Australia which accounted for 18% of the total examination, no? So aside from the book, I also prepare my own notes. So yan, ganyan kakapal yung isang chapter na nagawa ko sa notes. Medyo OA, pero kasi I love printing out yung mga sample problems. I like to, as opposed to doing it electronically, mas gusto ko yung nahawakan tsaka yung nasusulatan. Meron kasi ako mga ginawa dito, I just want to validate kung tama yung nandito sa scope ng PFRS natin. It should be, no? Kasi parehas lang naman tayo ng standard na ginagamit. So sabi dito, liability, carrying amount of liability is less than the tax base. Tama naman siya. So kasi, paano ba yun? Ayan. Yan yung sa guide naman na meron sa CPA Australia. But it's the same. So at least, I don't need to share this with you kasi a concept that that is included in our syllabus also provides the same guides naman. So okay, sige. Punta tayo sa number 4. So recognize deferred tax liability because the difference increases income tax payment in the future periods. No? So yun nga, we have to pay more, no? In the future. So sabi pa dito, deferred tax liability is a non-current liability. So take note of this class kasi marami nagkakamali dito. Ang reason ng iba is if we reverse this the following period, so should we consider it as current liability? So the answer is deferred tax liability is always a non-current liability. So this is how we recognize this in our statement of financial position. So kailan naman nagkakaroon ng deductible temporary difference or future deductible amount? No? So number 1, if the taxable income is greater than your accounting income, tax base of an asset is greater than your carrying amount. Number 3, tax base of liability is less than the carrying amount. Tama ba yan? Tax base is less than carry, okay, of liability. Recognize deferred tax asset because the difference will reduce income tax payment in the future periods. A deferred tax asset shall be recognized. Ito pala, take note of this class. This is very important, no? Kasi kung napansin mo, walang gantong guide when we calculated for the deferred tax liability. However, if it's deferred tax asset, we should recognize this for all deductible temporary difference to the extent that it is probable that taxable profit will be available against which the deductible temporary difference can be utilized. No? So meaning there's the high chance that there will be taxable profit in the future. No? So the problem will tell you, the problem will tell us if there is a probable uh, uh, there is high probability that there will be taxable profit in the future. Otherwise, we won't need to calculate for deferred tax asset. Okay, so again, deferred tax asset is a non-current asset. So ito na, para at least to guide us no how to calculate for the taxable income first. Let's have a template no para at least no lahat ng mga na-discuss natin earlier, how are we going to incorporate it in the template ba in order for us to come up with the taxable income. So remember, the starting point will be your accounting income, but it has to be pre-tax, no? So pre-tax financial income less non-taxable income kasi nga we have to deduct it no kung non-taxable naman. And then add the non-deductible expenses. Initially this have been deducted no, so we are adding it back. So to get your financial income subject to tax, less future taxable amount for the year, and then add the future deductible amount for the year. So the result will be your taxable income. Don't worry class, no? So we'll illustrate this in a problem. Actually, I have prepared 7 problems no, to go over this concept. So what are the other terms and definition? Ito, be very careful kasi dito madalas nagkakamali dahil most of the time, yung mga problems on deferred tax or income tax, very straightforward, no? But then nagkakamali kasi hindi alam yung difference between current tax expense and total tax expense, no? So kaya pag-usapan natin yan. So current tax expense, this is a taxable income multiplied by the income tax rate effective for the current year. It gives rise to income tax payable, which is a current liability. O simply class, if it's current tax expense, ang pinag-uusapan dyan would be the taxable income multiplied by the tax rate. And that's it. No? It's not the accounting income class. This is the taxable income. So take note of that. Now, if it's the total tax expense naman, it's the current tax expense, basically what you have calculated before, plus the deferred tax expense or deferred tax benefit. No? So deferred tax expense, this is yung partner ng deferred tax liability. Deferred tax benefit naman is partner ng deferred tax asset. No? So deferred tax benefit is also sometimes book as deferred tax income. No? So kung ba may nakita kang deferred tax income, it's the same with deferred tax benefit. Now, the standard also allows to use deferred tax expense. No? So yun nga lang, be careful kasi you should know the normal side of your expense. No? It's a debit, of course. No? So when it's being credited, alam mo dapat na it's the opposite way around. No? Kasi di ba, normally, the entry to book your deferred tax liability would be deferred tax expense debit and then credit to your deferred tax liability. So again, don't worry. No? So later on, when we go through the different discussion problems aside from doing aside from calculating the problems using our template, lagay na rin natin lahat ng mga journal entries. Okay? So deferred tax expense is equals to the increase in deferred tax liability less the increase in deferred tax asset. So parang ano lang naman yan. Sinasabi lang na ang net is deferred tax expense kung mas malaki yung increase in deferred tax liability mo. Now, kailan naman ang result is deferred tax benefit? Again, kung mas malaki yung increase in the deferred tax asset mo. But I mean, it's logical. And then take note, we have to use the future enacted tax rate, if any, in computing the deferred tax. Why? Well, for the very reason that this will be deducted in the future. No? So it has to be in line with the future tax rate. No? So be careful with that, especially in the Philippines. No? Very, ano ba? Changing talaga yung tax rate natin. No? So I'm not particularly sure right now what's the tax rate. No? Mas kabisado niya. I'm not doing Philippine taxation kasi in my line of work. No? So I'm an accounting manager for Xerox, but I'm catering for entities in the Europe. So that's my line of work. Okay, so with all those theory, let's apply it in the different discussion problems. This is how we approach naman all the topics in our class. No? So let's have problem number 1. Okay, let me read the requirement. Ayan, naka-highlight pa. What amount should be reported as current tax expense for the current year? An entity reported pre-tax financial income of 8 million for the current year. The taxable income was 7 million for the current year. The difference is due to accelerated depreciation for income tax purposes. The income tax rate is 25% and the entity made estimated tax payment of 500,000 during the current year. What amount should be reported as current tax expense for the current year? Sige, let's have problem number 1. Ay, bakit ganito? Pero ang gusto kong mangyari is lagay ko na rin yung concept side by side. Sa in one screen, kita natin lahat ng pinag-uusapan natin. Yun pala class, I keep telling you, no? So be sure that you have your own review materials in order for you to practice. No? Kasi sayang yung mga concept na pinag-uusapan natin if you don't practice it. Para at least ready ka na after this class, konting review ka na lang. Then you can be confident in taking the CPA board. That's the same approach naman that I'm doing right now in CPA Australia. So ang ginawa ko is binasa ko yung book. Pero per module, huwag naman yung lahat. So ginawa ko approach, nagbasa ako ng concept. Number 2, I watched the recorded discussion. So similar to what we're doing right now, there are also webinars. So recorded discussions. And then number 3, what I did is practice it using the sample problems from the book. And also, meron ako separate material para lang ma-build yung confidence level. What I'm planning to do after I've completed all the modules, one round pa. Pero yung one round na yun will be to go through different sample problems. Tapos highlight ko yung mga sample problems that during the first initial topic and nagkaroon ako ng error, no? So paano ko ginawa yun? Wow, for example, ito. Yung sabihin, error ko yan nung una kong gawa. Ayan, binlugan ko para at least sa second round, yan na yung focus ko. So parang do not flatter yourself na kung tama mo nung una. Wag mo nang balikan, no? Pero minsan pampagana pa rin naman na tama ka ng una o gusto mong maging happy, tama ka ulit. No? Pero again, if you're taking the board exam, so just like myself, I'm taking it on April 13. And ang focus area ko na on the second round would be yung mga problematic area. No? So doon ako sa mga nagkamali para at least sigurado. And always aim for 100% na. Huwag yung makapasa lang kasi ang ganito yan. If you aim for 100%, kung bumagsak ka man, marami, no? 99, 98, hanggang up to 75. No? Sa atin, 75 kasi passing. But if you aim to makapasa lang, so imagine ang aim mo lang is 75. Pag bumagsak ka ng isa, bagsak na. So 74 ka na agad. So aim to get a perfect score para at least meron kang 25% na buffer. Anyway, tip lang ulit yan. So we go now to problem number 1. What amount should be reported as current tax expense for the current year? So going through the formula, ang pinapakompute lang naman sa atin is current tax expense. So sabi natin, if it's current tax expense, it's actually the taxable income. So that would be 7 million multiplied by the tax rate of 25%. So that would be letter A. So ganun kasimple, class, no? Kung alam mo na yung definition ng mga terms, no? Kung ano yung dapat hahanapin. In this case kasi, given naman lahat. So we have the pre-tax financial income of 8 million, taxable income of 7 million. Nagkaroon tayo ngayon ng difference, no? So sabi natin, ilagay ko rin yung isa pa. Actually, let's keep it this way. So we have future taxable amount of 1 million kasi ang nangyari dito, the accounting income is greater than the taxable income. So we have 1 million difference. Now, that 1 million difference will give rise to deferred tax liability. No? Paano ngayon ang calculation natin yan? So that would be 1 million multiplied by 25% debit to your income tax expense, credit deferred tax liability. No? So, sabi pa dito in the problem, nagkaroon daw tayo ng payment. No? So, that's debit to income tax payable, credit to cash for 500,000. But then, the requirement is to compute for the current tax expense. So, that would be 1,750,000. So, itong portion naman ito. So, ang ginawa ko lang, class, is I put all the relevant journal entries, no? But then yung requirement nandito is the current tax expense. Again, this is just for discussion purposes, no? But when you take the quiz or sabihin na natin in the CPA board exam, do not complete this, no? Just go straight to the requirement. No? That's again, we're doing this for discussion purposes lang naman. Okay, so let's have problem number 2. Problem number 2, what amount should be reported as total income tax expense? So again, this is highlighted because we are discussing the concept, no? But in CPA board exam or in your quizzes, this won't be highlighted. No? So you have to read very carefully. An entity reported pre-tax accounting income of 5 million for the current year. Taxable income was 5,500,000. The difference is due to the rental received in advance. Rental income is taxable when received. The income tax rate is 25% and the entity made no estimated tax payment in the current year. What amount should be reported as total income tax expense for the current year? So let's have problem number 2. But before that, pag-usapan muna nga natin itong rental income. So sabi kasi dyan, ang difference daw between the pre-tax accounting income and the taxable income was due to the rental received in advance. No? Eh sabi dito, ang rental income daw is taxable when received. No? So meaning, sa accounting income mo, naka uh, uh, naka-lodge na yan as total income. I mean, dahil nagkakaroon ka ng adjusting entry, only portion of that, yung earned portion, will be recognized as income. No? But then, doon sa taxable income, sinasabi na ang rental income is taxable upon receipt. Upon receipt. No? So, pag na-receive na yan, buo na yung taxable income na due. Okay? So, it gives rise to deferred tax asset. No? So pag-usapan natin ngayon yan, we have pre-tax financial income of 5 million, taxable income of 5,500,000. So meron tayong difference na 500,000. No? That 500,000 is, that 500,000 will give rise to deferred tax asset. No? Dahil deferred tax asset yan, this is future deductible amount. Not taxable. Deductible. So ano muna yung mga related entries natin? So una, kunin natin yung current tax expense. So that's 5,500,000 multiplied by 25%. So that's 1,375,000 debit income tax expense. Credit income tax payable for 1,375,000. Now, sabi natin, the taxable income is greater than your pre-tax financial income, so therefore it will give rise to deferred tax asset. So debit deferred tax asset, that's 500,000 multiplied by 25% for 125,000, and credit income tax benefit for 125,000. Take note, class. Here we use income tax benefit, pero earlier sabi ko it could also be deferred tax expense. Yun nga lang opposite ang direction, no? So in this case it has to be deducted, no? So paano ngayon yung pag-compute ng total income tax, no? So total income tax would be the current tax expense of 1,375,000 less the income tax benefit. No? So tandaan, income tax benefit has to be treated, no, inversely. No? So in this case, kasi di ba normal side ng income ng expense natin is debit, ito naka-credit, so you have to deduct this. No? So that's 1,375,000 less 125,000. So the total income tax expense would be 1,250,000. There's another way to calculate this, but you can only use this if there's no change in the income tax rate. No? So tandaan, class, ha, gagamitin lang tong formula na to pag walang change sa income tax rate. So you have to be careful in reading the details in the problem. No? Kasi kung walang change in the income tax rate, so meaning if the income tax rate this period is 25%, it will be 25% also in the future periods, then we can use financial income subject to tax, so in this case 5 million, multiplied by the income tax rate of 25%, kung napansin mo, ang total income tax expense natin will be the same. No? Pero tandaan na, be careful. No? Kasi kung halimbawa merong change in the income tax rate, then we cannot use this formula. Okay? So ano pang isang tatandaan? This is total income tax expense. Pag total income tax expense, we have to calculate number one, the current tax expense and the deferred tax expenses. So in this case, deferred tax benefit. So you have to include those two elements to get the total income tax expense. Okay? So that's problem number 2. Let's go to problem number 3. Ito. Dalawa na. In problem number 3, the requirements are number 1, what amount should be reported as current tax expense for the current year? And number 2, what is the net deferred tax expense? Net, ha? Class, net deferred tax expense or benefit for the current year. At the end of the first year of operations, an entity had taxable temporary differences totaling 3 million. Of this total, 500,000 relates to current items. The entity also had deductible temporary differences totaling 1,250,000 of which relates to current items. Pre-tax financial income for the current year was 20 million. The tax rate is 25%. So that's problem number 3. Okay. So, ayan, nilagay ko pa rin dito yung mga concept. So, unang question, current tax expense. No? So, we have pre-tax financial income, that's 20 million. Future taxable amount for the year of 3 million. Ito class, sinusundan natin yung template. And then we have future deductible amount for 1 million. So, we have taxable income of 18 million. Okay. So first question, how much would be the current tax expense? Sabi natin, pag current tax expense is the taxable income multiplied by the tax rate of 25%. So debit income tax expense for 4,500,000 and credit income tax payable for 4,500,000. Next. Ito, this is a compound entry kasi ang hinahanap sa atin sa number 2 is net, no? Net expense or net benefit. Pero remember class, ang entry natin dito would be, unahin natin yung deferred tax asset. Deferred tax asset, punta ka dun sa future deductible amount multiplied by 25%. No? So deferred tax asset debit, deferred tax asset 250,000 and credit deferred income tax benefit, no? Credit income tax benefit. But then, in number 2 kasi, ang hinahanap sa atin is net deferred tax expense or benefit. So in this case, the deferred tax liability is greater than the deferred tax asset. So therefore, we have a net deferred tax expense of 500,000. No? So dito naman sa deferred tax liability mo, that's 3 million multiplied by 25%, that's 750,000. No? So essentially, ang entry mo dyan is the debit deferred tax expense, 750,000, credit deferred tax liability, 750,000. So knock off mo yung dalawa. So meron tayo ngayong compound entry ng deferred income tax expense for 500,000 and then credit a debit deferred tax asset of 250 and credit deferred tax liability for 750,000. Okay. Siguro para mas maintindihan yan, I'll just put here yung mga entries ng deferred tax. Okay, itong deferred tax asset. Credit. So that's 25%. And then, syempre, meron kong ditong income tax benefit. So that's 250,000. And of course, meron kang deferred tax, income tax expense, and deferred tax liability. 3 million, 25%. Ayan. So kung napansin mo, meron ka di bang income tax benefit na negative or credit, and then meron kang income tax expense na positive. No? So therefore, ang net niyan would be 750 minus 500,000. So It's income tax expense. Okay. Okay, so at least save ko yun para at least mas clear, no? Okay, so answer to number 1, what amount should be reported as current tax expense? So that would be 4,500,000. And number 2, what is the net deferred tax expense or benefit for the current year? It's 500,000. O yan ha. Nagkataon meron kang 500,000 expense or 500,000 benefit. No? So, well, we've calculated it to be 500,000 expense or letter C. Okay. Okay, so we have 4 more problems to go. Let's pause for 10-minute break, no, para makapag-stretching ka or drink water, and then we'll proceed. Okay? Sige, see you in 10 minutes, class. Sige, let's resume. So we go now to problem number 4. Problem number 4, what amount should be reported as total income tax expense in the income statement for 2021? An entity was organized on January 1, 2021. The entity had pre-tax accounting income of 5 million and taxable income of 7 million for the current year. The only temporary difference is accrued product warranty cost that is expected to be paid in 2022. The enacted tax rates are 30% for 2021 and 25% for 2022 and thereafter. What amount should be reported as total income tax expense in the income statement for 2021? So that's a problem number 4. Okay. So pansinin class, ano ba yung cost naman ng difference between your accounting income and taxable income? So sabi dito, it's the product warranty cost. No? So sabi kasi di ba natin, no? In product warranty cost, we record the warranty liability at the point of sale. No? So pagbenta mo pa lang, nire-recognize natin yan. However, sa taxable income, di ba lahat ng sa taxable income natin cash-based. No? So pag nagbayad ka, dun lang siya taxable. No? So therefore, there's this difference. No? Kaya nga it gives rise to a future taxable amount. No? Not taxable, future deductible. Yeah, deductible amount. Kasi nga, you already paid the tax today, and it has to be deducted in the future. Okay, so we have 5 million na pre-tax accounting income, and then 7 million na taxable income. So we have now 2 million difference. But tandaan, computerin mo natin. So to compute for the current income, current tax expense, so that's 7 million multiplied by 30%. So debit income tax expense, 2,100,000, and then credit income tax payable for 2,100,000. Now, ito yung tatandaan, sabi natin kanina, when we compute for the deferred tax asset or deferred tax liability, we have to use the tax rate, no? For the tax rate enacted for the future. No? So in this case, we have to use 25%. No? So that's 2 million multiplied by 25%. Kaya nga kanina, when we go through problem number 1, I mentioned that we can use only the formula that we have introduced there only when there is no change na, in the tax rate. So in this case, income tax expense 2,100,000 less the income tax benefit of 500,000. No? So total income tax expense would be 1,600,000 for letter B. So ang naiba lang dito plus this is the calculation for the deferred tax asset. Tandaan, ulitin ko, you have to use the enacted tax rates in the future. No? So in this case, 25%. Okay, so that's problem number 4. Let's have problem number 5. Problem number 5, what is the deferred tax expense for 2022? No? On December 31, 2021, an entity reported deferred tax liability of 600,000 and deferred tax asset of 150,000. On December 31, 2022, the deferred tax liability is 900,000 and deferred tax asset is 0. What is the deferred tax expense for 2022? Ito parang ano no? it looks simple, no? Yun kung alam mo na yung kung alam mo na yung treatment ng deferred tax liability and deferred tax asset. No? Let's have problem number 5. So in problem number 5, lagay ko lang ulit dito. Ang pinapakompute lang naman sa atin is how much would be your tax expense, no? Or deferred tax expense. So tandaan, we have to check first ano muna yung mga movement, no? So we have deferred tax liability. In 2021, beginning balance is 600,000 and then ending balance is 900,000. So 900 less 600,000, this would be your movement. Now, tignan naman natin yung deferred tax asset. No? So deferred tax asset natin is 150,000 beginning, and then we have ending balance of 0. No? So 0 less 150,000, so that's 150,000. Now we have deferred tax expense, no, of 450,000. So yung pinaka-net. No? So we have income tax expense of 450,000, and then credit deferred tax liability of 300,000 and deferred tax asset of 150,000. No? Another way to, parang siguro mas mabilis, mas madaling intindihan, we have 2021 then 2022. Meron ka ngayon ditong deferred tax asset and then deferred tax liability. Deferred tax asset nung 2021 is 150,000. Tapos 0 daw. Deferred tax liability is 2020. Deferred tax liability 2022 is 900,000, 600,000. So meron ko ngayon ditong movement. So yun din naman yung nasa taas. Para lang at least makita natin saan ang galing yung mga numbers. No? So yan. So pinakita ko lang saan nang galing itong mga numbers. Class, ha? So answer is 450,000. Yun yung pinaka-net ng deferred tax liability and at the same time your deferred tax asset. Okay, so that's letter B. Let's have problem number 6. Problem number 6. What is the current tax expense? Tax rate is 25%. And number 2, what is the total tax expense? So an entity reported in the first year of operations pre-tax income of 6 million. Premium on officer's life insurance, so 0 sa tax return, and the accounting record shows 150,000. Tax exempt interest revenue, 0 sa tax return, and then 250,000 sa accounting records. Uncollectible account expense, 200,000 sa tax return, and then accounting record is 300,000. Depreciation expense, 1,500,000, and then 1 million for the accounting record. Warranty costs, 400,000 sa tax return, and then 600,000 sa accounting record. Rent received in advance, we have 800,000 sa tax return, and then 0 sa accounting records. No? So let's have problem number 5. 6. Problem number 6. Say natin to class at maraming details involved. Okay, una, excuse me, we have pre-tax financial income of 6 million. Yan palagi ang base ang starting point natin kasi. So of course, we have to look for non-taxable income or non-deductible expense. No? So we have non-deductible expense of uh, 150,000 in relation to the premium on officers' life insurance. No? So we have received that, pero ang sinasabi dito ay it's not uh, taken up in the tax return. No? So meaning it's a permanent difference. No? So in that case, we have to add it back. No? So nagbayad tayo ng premium, that's an expense, pero non-deductible daw siya in terms of the taxable income. No? So we have to add it back. Now, number two, we have tax-exempt interest revenue. So in this case, naka-receive tayo ng revenue, pero per taxable income calculation, we have to adjust for that. No? So kung naka-receive ka, and it's recognized in your accounting income, you have to deduct it. No? So in order for you to adjust your taxable income. No? So that's 250,000 minus. So now we have the accounting income subject to tax. So ito yan, financial income subject to tax. Isa-isayin ngayon natin yung mga other factors. No? So we have excess in the accounting bad debt expense. Tandaan, meron tayong 300,000 per accounting records, pero per tax return, we only have 200,000. So meron tayong 100,000 dyan. So ang accounting records, this is your carrying value. So carrying value, and then meron tayong tax return. Ito ngayon yung tax base mo. No? So lagay ko ito ng buo. Carrying value. And then versus your tax base. So in this case, meron tayong uncollectible account expense. 300,000 per accounting record, 200,000 naman per tax return. So meron tayong difference of 100,000. Number two, or next, depreciation expense. We have 1,500,000 per tax return, pero per accounting records, 1 million lang. So we have 500,000 difference. Warranty cost. Ito, warranty cost, we have 400,000 per tax return, and for accounting records, we have 600,000. So meaning we have paid 400,000 warranty. Pero per accounting record, sabi natin, we record the liability at point of sale. So therefore, it's fully recognized as an expense. So we have a difference of 200,000. Now for rent received in advance, sabi natin, ang tax kasi is cash-based. Pagka-receive nung rent, nung cash from rent, cash for the rent payment, tinatax na natin yan. Pero for accounting records, sabi natin, we only record the income earned. So, kaya zero pa yan. Ibig sabihin, hindi pa tumatakbo yung period. So, we have 800,000 difference. So, total taxable income would be 6,500,000. That is 5,900,000 plus 100,000 less 500,000 for the tax depreciation. And then 200,000 for the warranty cost, and then 800,000 for the rental receipt. So we have taxable income of 6,500,000. Now, pinapakompute sa atin una, current tax expense and total tax expense, yung second requirement. So sabi natin, if it's the current tax expense, it's the taxable income of 6,500,000 multiplied by the tax rate of 25%. So that would be 1,625,000 or letter A. Pansinin na for the total tax expense, we have to include two elements. Una, yung current tax expense. Ito naman na inuulit-ulit ko na lang naman. Plus yung deferred tax expense or benefit. So we have increase in DTL. Ano ba yung of all these items, what will give rise to a deferred tax liability? Of course, it's the excess in depreciation of 500,000. No? So that's 500,000 multiplied by 25%. The rest will give rise to future deductible amount. No? Oh, sige. Paano naging future deductible amount? So let's take, for example, itong rent received in advance. Pansinin, rent received in advance, it's already been taxed, no, as we receive the cash. No? Kaya nga, it will give rise to deferred tax asset kasi you can claim that in the future. You can reduce your tax payment in the future kasi nga, bayad ka na today. Bayad ka na ngayon, so in the future, you can deduct for it. So that's deferred tax asset. No? So 100,000 plus 200,000 plus 800,000 multiplied by 25%. So that would be 275,000. Pero tandaan, this is benefit. No? So ang entry natin for deferred tax asset, debit deferred tax asset, credit income tax benefit. No? So kaya lagyan naka-negative siya. So kunin natin yung net, that would be 150,000 benefit. No? So 1,625,000 less 150,000, that would be 1,475,000 or letter A then. Also, siguro naman no, at this stage, alam na natin yung composition of different terminologies. So for example, if it's current tax expense, it has to be the taxable income multiplied by the tax rate. Now, if it's total tax expense, it has to be you have to compute for two elements. Una, yung current tax expense plus the deferred tax expense or deferred tax benefit. So in this case, these two. Okay, so that's problem number 6. So let's have another problem, no? Problem number 7. O, ito naman, medyo, dahil nga ang assumption is alam mo na yung concept, ay lilituhin ka na ng problem. This is the case palagi, no? In accounting naman. No? So more challenging and more tests of your knowledge. No? So the requirement is what amount was deducted for depreciation in the tax return. So imagine that, no? Ang pinapakompute na sa atin is depreciation in the tax return. An entity reported the following information after the first year of operations. Income before income tax, 5,400,000. And then you have your income tax expenses. We have current, 1,250,000. And then the deferred tax expense, of 100,000 for a total of 1,350,000. So we have total net income of 4,050,000. The entity used straight-line method of depreciation for financial reporting purposes and accelerated depreciation for tax purposes. The amount charged to depreciation expense per books was 1,600,000. No other differences existed between book income and taxable income except for the depreciation. Tax rate is 25%. So let's have problem number 7. So in problem number 7, very straightforward naman. Ang pinapakompute lang sa atin is magkano daw yung tax depreciation. No? So yun lang yung nag-cause ng difference between the accounting income and taxable income. So in that case, we have to, magkano ba yung accounting income muna natin? Meron, given naman yan, that's 1,600,000. This one. Actually, this is not the accounting income, this is the accounting depreciation. This is what's booked, no, against the accounting income. And of course, magkano ngayon yung excess, no? Kasi ito yung tax depreciation natin, 2 million. Pero paano natin mako-compute yan? Tandaan, meron tayo ditong deferred tax. Yung deferred tax, this is already calculated based on the difference, no? So 100,000 over 25%, nag-work back tayo dito class, ha? So that would be 400,000, meaning ito yung naging difference natin, no, between the accounting depreciation and tax depreciation. So it gives rise to deferred tax expense. No? Kung nagkaroon ng deferred tax expense, so meaning we have recorded deferred tax liability. Kung meron deferred tax liability, ibig sabihin nagkaroon tayo ng future taxable amount. No? So kung may future taxable amount, meaning the tax depreciation is greater than the accounting depreciation. Ito na, ma-mention ko lang ng mabilis kasi nga I've already read the material. I've already watched the recorded discussion. So pinaka-practice ko itong uh, uh, itong lesson natin for today, no? So that's why I'm able to articulate it very well, no? So what I suggest you to do is after this recording, I go through your materials as well, no? So that's how we approach things, no? Especially in accounting, no? So in this case, we have 400,000 excess plus the accounting depreciation of 1,600,000. So that would be 2 million pesos. This is the tax depreciation, no? So kung babalik natin kanina, di ba, ang calculation natin palagi is tax depreciation and then accounting depreciation. So that's 2 million, then 1,600,000. So kunin natin yung difference. This is the excess. Tapos yan yung minumultiply natin ng 25. Oops. Times 25%. So that's 100,000. This is the 100,000 here. No? Di ba ang entry natin yan is debit deferred tax expense, credit deferred tax liability. So that's 100,000. Okay. So ito yung pumasok dito sa income tax mo. So that's the 100,000 here. Okay? So that's, again, this is rather more complex, no, compared to the previous topics. Kasi nga, the assumption is you already know the concept. Okay? So that's problem number 7. Oh, actually, that ends our discussion on deferred tax expense, no, or deferred tax income. So if you have any questions, please feel free to send me a message on my personal Yahoo mail, or you can course it through your class BDEL. Yun pala, no? I'll just stop recording. Stop